Hello students, let us begin with the second session on IIT JEE 2012 paper 2 on physics. Now the next set of two questions is based on the passage which is given over here. The general motion of a rigid body can be considered to be a combination of, first, a motion of its center of mass about an axis, and second, its motion about an instantaneous axis passing through the center of mass. Okay, that means we have to study the motion of center of mass as well as an axis passing through the center of mass, and we will study the motion of the rest of the body, right? These axes need not be stationary. Okay, maybe this axis about which center of mass is studied may be moving, or the instantaneous axis passing through the center of mass may be moving. Okay, now consider for example a thin uniform disc welded rigidly fixed horizontally at its rim to a massless stick as shown in the figure. When the disc stick system is rotated about the origin on a horizontal frictionless plane with angular speed omega, the motion at an instant can be taken as a combination of, first look at this. This is the stick, and at this end of the stick, disc is welded, and this disc is rotated about an axis passing through the origin, and the axis being Z. Okay, now let us say the center of mass here. So if you study the center of mass, it will move like this. Okay, is that correct? So this point P after half a rotation will come over here, and point Q will come over here. Okay, now let us see the statement. A rotation of the center of mass of the disk about z-axis, this is one. A rotation of the disk through an instantaneous vertical axis passing through its center of mass as seen from the changed orientation of point P and Q. So at the instant when the disk was here, the axis, instantaneous axis of rotation about center of mass is this. So when it reaches here, it is this. When it reaches here, it is this. So when this angle is pi by 2 or 90 degree, the point P has reached here and point Q has reached here. Okay, so about the center of the axis passing through the center of mass, it has turned, point P has turned by an angle of pi by 2. Okay, here, and by another angle of pi by 2, that means it comes to diagonally opposite point. This point P has reached here. Okay, so from this point P it has reached here, so the rotation is again pi. So both these motions have the same angular speed omega in this case. Okay, so when the disk has rotated about an axis Z by a rotation of half a rotation, at the same time the disk has also rotated by half a revolution along the instantaneous axis passing through center of mass. Okay, this has been shown here. When it comes back to this position, the orientation of P and Q would be same. So we can infer that omega about Z and omega about center of mass is same. Now consider two similar systems as shown in the figure. Case A, the disk with its face vertical and parallel to the XZ plane. Case B, the disk with its face making an angle of 45 degree with the XY plane and its horizontal diameter parallel to the x-axis. Okay, in both the cases the disk is welded at point P. Now this is the case. Case A, disk is kept parallel, the plane of the disk is kept parallel to the XZ plane. Okay, and then it is rotated about z-axis. And in case B, the plane of the disk is making an angle of 45 degree with the y-axis. Okay. Now at point P it is welded. Okay, now based on this condition we have to attempt the two problems. Which of the following statements regarding the angular speed about the instantaneous axis passing through the center of mass is correct? Okay, now to understand this, take the case of the disk which is perpendicular to the y-axis. So let us say the orientation is PQRS of the 4 points, right? Now when it is rotated by half a revolution about z-axis, then the orientation will be like this. R, which was in the front, will go towards the back and S will come over here. So this can be assumed to be rotating about an axis, instantaneous axis, passing through center of mass or QP. Okay, so when it reaches here after turning by half a revolution about z-axis, then the orientation of R and S has reversed. Okay, and when it takes another half a turn, it comes over here, the orientation is same. So omega of z about z axis and omega about instantaneous axis will be same. It will be same. Okay, now let us look at the case B. In case B also it is welded at this point P. So when it turns by half a revolution and reaches here, point P is same here, but Q has changed its orientation. Okay, so if we take an axis passing through the center of mass which is parallel to the z-axis, then the turning of Q, if you just compare this orientation and this orientation, P being welded, then the point Q has turned like this. Okay, point Q has come over here, which you can see in this figure. So the turning of disk is by half a rotation in this half rotation about z-axis. So when it again comes back to this original position, the orientation is again the same. So which means that omega of z and omega of center of mass would be same. Okay, now based on this discussion, option D is correct. It is omega for both the cases. Now let us look at the next problem. Which of the following statements about the instantaneous axis passing through the center of mass is correct? Okay, the instantaneous axis is parallel to the z-axis. So it is vertical for both case A and B. This is correct. Okay, so no need to study the other 4 options.